Work Permit System. Permit to Work, PTW, refers to management systems used to ensure that work is done safely and efficiently. These are used in hazardous industries and involve procedures to request, review, authorize, document and most importantly, the conflict tasks to be carried out by frontline workers. Permit to Work is an essential part of Control of Work, COW, the integrated management of business-critical maintenance processes. Control of Work is made up of Permit to Work, Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment, RA, and Isolation Management, IM. Permit to Work is a core element of Integrated Safe System of Work, ISO, systems, that along with risk assessment and isolation planning, enable as low as reasonably practicable, ALARP, reduction of unsafe activities in non-trivial work environments. Permit to Work adherence is essential in process safety management. Instructions or procedures are often adequate for most work activities, but some require extra care. A Permit to Work system is a formal system stating exactly what work is to be done, where, and when. A responsible person should assess the work and check safety at each stage. The people doing the job sign the permit to show that they understand the risks and precautions necessary. Permits are effectively a means of communication between site management, plant supervisors and operators, and those who carry out the work. Examples of high-risk jobs where a written permit to work procedure may need to be used include hot work such as welding, vessel entry, cutting into pipes carrying hazardous substances, diving in the vicinity of intake openings, and work that requires electrical or mechanical isolation. It is also a means of coordinating different work activities to avoid conflicts. A permit to work is not a replacement for robust risk assessment, but can help provide context for the risk of work to be done. Studies by the UK Health and Safety Executive have shown that the most significant cause of the maintenance-related accidents in the UK chemical industry was a failure to implement of effective permit to work systems. 1. Common failures in control of work systems are a failure to follow the permit to work or isolation management procedures, risk assessments that are not suitable and sufficient to identify the risks, and/or the control measures. Work permit authorizes specific work to be carried out in restricted or hazardous areas. Serves as an official written record of conditions and requirement as agreed upon between the persons authorizing and receiving the permit. Specifies the conditions and procedures for safe execution of the work and allows the work to be carried out under controlled conditions. There are 3 types of work permits. 1. Cold work permit, green, shall be obtained for all general works of maintenance and radiography, e.g. opening of process machinery etc. 2. Hot work, vehicle entry permit, red, a hot work vehicle entry permit is required for the use of local source of ignition capable of igniting flammable gases, liquids or any other material, e.g., welding, or entry of petrol, diesel-driven vehicles or equipment in hazardous area etc. 3. Confined space entry permit, yellow, a confined space is any space large enough for a man to enter and where there could be presence of dangerous gas or fuel. There is likelihood of deficiency of oxygen, or access or egress is difficult or restricted. E.g. vessels, tanks, furnaces, pits, telephone manholes, sewers, excavations deeper than 1.2 meters, floating roof tanks when roof are more than 3 meters down from the top, etc. Gas concentration limits for work permit. Cold work. Less than 10%, up to 20% with air mask. H2S, less than 10 parts per million, should wear SCBA or airline mask at higher concentrations. Hot work. Not to exceed 1%, preferably 0%. H2S, not to exceed 10 parts per million. Confined space entry. Oxygen, 19.5 to 23.5%. Less than 10%, up to 20% with air mask. H2S, below 10 parts per million, above 10 parts per million. Entrants should wear breathing apparatus, above 100 parts per million. Entry shall not be allowed. Other toxic gases, reading shall be below TLV for entry without air mask, e.g. CO-25 parts per million, Cl2, half a part per million, SO2, 2 parts per million, NH3, 25 parts per million. No entry even with BAFL is more than 20%, H2S is more than 100 parts per million and CO is more than 500 parts per million. A permit to work form typically contains these items. 3. The work to be done, the equipment to be used and personnel involved. Precautions to be taken when performing the task. Other work groups to be informed of work being performed in their area. Authorization for work to commence. Duration that the permit is valid. Method to extend the permit for an additional period. Witness mechanism that all work has been complete and the work site restored to a clean, safe condition. Actions to be taken in an emergency. General principles. The following aspects should be considered with respect to permit to work systems. Human factors. Management of the work permit systems. Poorly skilled workforce. Unconscious and conscious incompetence. Objectives of the work permit system. Types of work permits required, and contents of the work permits. The following issues may contribute towards a major accident or hazard. Failing of the site safety management system. Failure to recognize a hazard before and during maintenance. Failure to comply with the work permit system in hazardous environments, and communication failure during the use of a work permit system. Contributory factors for an assessor to consider concerning the work permit system. The safety report should address the following points. 3. Whether staff have been sufficiently informed, instructed, trained and supervised to minimize a potential human failing during operation of the work permit system. 4. Whether the work permit system includes sufficient safety information, maintenance instructions, correct PPE and equipment for use. 5. Whether the work permit contains sufficient information about the type of work required, equipment removal, excavation, hot, cold work, repairing seals, vessel entry, waste disposal, isolation. 6. Whether there is sufficient provision available to fulfill the requirements of the work permit system. 7. Whether the employees responsible for control of the maintenance work are identified within the work permit system and that the work is properly authorized by a responsible person. 8. Whether the work permit system is managed, regularly inspected and reviewed. 9. Whether all work permits are kept on file. 10. Human factors, stress, fatigue, shift work, attitude. 11. Whether sufficient precautions are taken prior to initiating a work permit, isolation, draining, flushing, environmental monitoring, risk assessments, communication, time allotted for the work. 12. Whether staff are aware of the type of environment they are working in during the operation of a work permit, flammable, corrosive, explosive, zones 0, 1 and 2, electricity supplies. 13. Whether the person responsible for operating the plant is aware of the type of maintenance involved and how long it is likely to take, and 14. Whether the work permit system involves a formal procedure whereby the maintained plant or equipment is handed back to operation. Major hazards. Major hazards could arise from the following. Wrong type of work permit used. Wrong information about work required on the work permit. Failure to recognize the hazards where work is carried out, for example flammable substances. Introduction of ignition source in controlled flame-proof area, for example welding, non-spark-proof tools, non-intrinsically safe equipment used in intrinsically safe zones. Terms of work permit not adhered to, for example failure to isolate plant and or drain lines of hazardous substances. Failure to hand over plant in safe condition on completion of work, Canceling of work permit. Unauthorized staff performing work permit functions. Poor management of the work permit system, and insufficient monitoring of the work permit system.
Please give comment and suggestions.
Thank you.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Thank for visit our channel. See you next class.
Thank you.